Welcome to In-Depth Academia. I'm Richard Price and CEO of academia.edu, and I'm really pleased you're joining me today because this episode's paper us into the heart India's shifting political landscape, focusing on one of most fascinating regions, West. Now, just to get started, I'll be presenting the findings and arguments from this academic work with neutrality, sharing what the author has argued, but not advocating for it myself, okay? All right, let's dive in. So today we're unpacking a paper by Chaudhuri Irad Ahmed Siddiqui, and it's titled The End of Bengali Exceptionalism, Political Memory, Regional Identity, and Theological Turn in Modi's India. Quite a mouthful, right? But hang on, because the ideas in here are both timely, honestly, pretty thought-provoking. The central question the paper digs into is actually huge. Why did West Bengal, this long seen as kind of cultural and intellectual outlier in India, a sort of bastion of secularism, regional pride and thought, finally a huge electoral victory by Bharatiya Party, or BJP, in 2026. What does this say about the broader changes in India, and maybe even about how regions define themselves against national identities? And why does this matter for you? You're in India, or because, honestly, questions about how places hold on to their identity and what happens when that identity becomes, well, politicized or redefined feel pretty universal, right? The argues this wasn't just another change in government. West Bengal wasn't just switching parties. Instead, Siddiqui claims it was the collapse of Bengali exceptionalism. Basically, the idea that was always uniquely resistant to the rise of Hindu nationalist politics, thanks to its special mix of cultural memory, historic figures like Tagore, and traditions of intellectual and welfare politics. I think about, is there ever really an exceptional place, immune national, to do regional identities always eventually become part of the broader story? That's kind of what's at stake. So, what actually happened? The BJP's campaign wasn't just like parachuting in its usual talking points from Delhi or Gujarat. It adapted and reinterpreted some of Bengal's own and cultural inheritance, blending it with Modi-era themes like strong executive authority and a sort of developmental nationalism. Rather than telling people being Bengali, the message was more like, you can be Bengali and still be part of this national Hindu project, and maybe even better governance and more economic opportunity because of it. That's a tricky and, honestly, quite political move. Methodologically, Siddiqui isn't statistical regressions here. This is more of interpretive essay. He draws on the writings of figures like Rabindranath Tagore, Amartya, and Nirad C. Chaudhuri, showing how the memory of Bengal's Reena, its burst of intellectual and cultural activity in 19th, 20th, once provided a kind of firewall against outside influences. There's a look at how Mamata Banerjee, with her Ma-Mati-Manush slogan, positioned her party as the guardians of Bengali distinctiveness, mother, soil, people, for those new to Bengal politics. But ultimately, that brand of resistance wore thin, especially after years of incumbency and growing public frustration with alleged mismanagement. What does this all mean on ground? Well, the arguments suggest that as voters get tired old regional elites, or if promises of don't live up to day-to-day needs like jobs, infrastructure and order, even deep allegiances shift, the harnessed grievances like these and offered a rival set of emotional and practical appeals: order, welfare, development and national belonging. So maybe unique Bengali firewall was less sturdy than people thought. There are some neat side points here too, like the idea electoral masculinity, the of strong, decisive leadership that Modi projects, compared to the more protective, local, maternal appeal of Mamata Bana. Whether you care about Indian politics or not, this reflects a wider trend in democracies. The tension, regional identity and national project, nostalgia, and a push for dot paper is definitely not saying side is all right or wrong. Again, I'm just Siddiqui's, and he's keen to emphasise that academic research isn't gospel truth. It's a lens, no? Something to mull over, use for reflecting how societies shift and why narratives about can suddenly give way. Honestly, a me of when people in city theirs never entrify, or that a beloved bookstore will always resist pressures big. One day you see a Starbucks on the corner and everyone just shrugs like, yeah, gas times. Maybe that's not a perfect comparison, but I always think it when reading about these cultural shifts Anyway, what's in it for you? Well, maybe it's prompt to re-examine which of your own identities you think change, are they? This kind of research pushes us to unweigh traditions and memories compete, sometimes combine, sometimes fade. As always, academic work is an invitation to ponder to could happen here, or even more personally, how does my own history want to change? That's it for episode of In Depth With. Thanks so much for joining me. Remember, we're exploring, not prawn final truths. You have thoughts your own community sense exceptionalism. Shoot them way. I, Richard, wish